Good evening. Guten Abend. Bonsoir. It's the only languages I know it in. Yeah, nice to see you, Nice. Okay, so I will just inform you about how this evening starts. I always like to do a meditation first. Sorry, just having a little bit of burp. I'm like, no, I like to do meditation. Yes. And the meditation is sitting. Sorry, I just got distracted because I was so convinced I remembered my headset this time, but it's not here. Oh, here it is. I got it. Normally I'm always forgetting my headset and I have to like run and get it in the meditation. I did it. Yeah. Ik tune S. Ik is tune. Okay. Sorry, that was just my little bit of excitement. Okay, so we do a meditation first, and you can select which meditation you'd like to do, just on the disclaimer that any meditation that I give is a description of something that can happen. It's not actually a prescription. It might feel to you like I am telling you to do meditation, and through meditation it's going to get you to enlightenment, but that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just describing meditations, and they may or may not happen in that body. It's dependent on God's will whether or not that's enacted. Yes. So meditations that I recommend is the mindfulness of breathing, which is counting your breath. So every time you breathe in, you count 1. Next breath in, 2, 3, and you ascend all the way up to 10. And then from 10, you go back down to 0 and you start again. And that's all the meditation is. It's just following your breath and counting to 10. Yes. And the next meditation is putting your attention back into I am or consciousness. You can't actually put your attention into big consciousness because that would be a movement in time. But you seemingly can put your attention in attention. So you can move your attention, into personal awareness. Yeah. Or you can put it on the sense of I am, which I would say is love. Then the third one I would recommend is just sitting. I used to practice this with Buddhists. You wouldn't think that you'd have to practice it with someone, but I did. I used to go to the Buddhist center to learn how to just sit. Just sit. And it literally means that you sit down and you let whatever arise that wants to arise. So if your mind wants to have a good old yarn about something, let it go. If it wants to moan about something, let it do it. If it wants to imagine your next holiday, let it do it. Whatever it wants to do. So those are the 3 meditations. But with the disclaimer that it's not a prescription. There's not somebody actually in your body or in my body that's going to get enlightened. There is no person that gets enlightened. The character, what we would describe as you in the human world, isn't going to get enlightened. Because it doesn't exist as a separate entity. It's a phantom that's appearing. It's like music. It's like a ghost appearing, narrating the story of you, narrating your circumstances, and so habits and conditions arising that create the appearance of you, but there isn't actually a you that's alive and real that could become enlightened. So it feels like there's a you that could become enlightened, but there's not actually a you that become enlightened. That is the illusion. You are not alive. Consciousness is alive. Consciousness is what's recognizing. Consciousness is what's perceiving. And that isn't a personal thing. There is no Khaleesi here. She is being walked by my wonderful partner. Okay, los geht's. Los geht's mit Namen. No, we're not going to get going with nouns. Somebody has been doing the German tapes, eh? My endless learning language, living in mainland Europe. By the time I pass, I will speak a good percentage of languages, I think, in mainland Europe. I'll have just managed to get fluent, and then the body will drop, and I'm like, bollocks. All that effort. Okay. Okay, let me go and get my big dong out and give it a gong. My gong needs a dong. Music. Okay, and Hey, Hello. I have a dog staring at me. She wants more food. If you have a dog, you understand. She just had a walk and then she's had her evening meal and then she just, I mustn't make her think I'm going to give her any attention. I would show you, but if I show you, she's going to get up and start begging again. She's so cute, Lacey. It's like I can't get absorbed into her cuteness. Okay. Lost kids. Lost kids. Lost kids. I can imagine that's a song in Germany. Tanzen wir. Tanzen wir. Los geht's. Los geht's. Okay. Let me just look at the title. So, the title of the talk is called Non-Duality and the Consciousness of Things. Oh, what a nice title. Non-Duality and the Consciousness of Things. So just like if you want to ask questions, I can see that there's a lot of people on the stream. I don't know if YouTube have changed things lately, but you're not, most of you aren't in real time. You think you are, but you're not actually in real time. So 69 of you are in real time, and I think there's about 200 that are in the past of the stream. You're always going to be a little bit behind me, like 10 seconds, maybe 5 seconds behind me, but there's quite a lot of you that are behind. Yeah. So you can just catch up if you want to ask a question in Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. If you want to call in, please put call me with nothing else after it so I can see it in the Skype chat. And you can also write a question. Even when I'm talking, you can just write and send a question. I've got all the notifications off and I will answer it when I am ready. And you can send me a friend request as well. Yeah. So non-duality and the consciousness of things. So what should I start with? The non-dual part or the consciousness of things? I think I had to start with non-duality. So what is non-duality? Lost geeks, lost geeks. Well, non-duality is the most beautiful subject there is. I love non-duality. It's basically the description of oneness or not two-ness. So all of this is a world of one, not two. Non-duality, not two-ness. They also say that the reason that they call it not two-ness, non-duality, is because to even call it oneness is a step too far, so it's better to call it what it's not. And you get different teachers. You get the negating teachers that are all like nothing, 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 nothing. And then you get teachers that are all like everything, 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 love. And then you get me that goes nothing, everything, nothing, everything. That most probably makes no sense to a newcomer. So I really doubt there's any newcomers to non-duality here. They've switched off, they're like, she's a little woo-woo, woo-woo. So non-duality is the questioning of who is it that's experiencing life. So currently in human society, there is a meme called me and you. And what meme means is an idea which has spread and spreading called me and you. It's an idea. To most of humanity, though, it feels like a reality, and it feels like who they are is a conscious being that's looking out through these bodies. So you ask most people in society who they are, and they would describe their name, the place they come from, their job, what they do, what they like doing, what they don't like, how much money they have, what languages they speak, what they're good at, their family members, their mother or father or daughter, etc. Whereas that's only the story, the narrative that we as humans communicate to each other. It's not actually a truth. It's not actually a reality. When I say truth, like an absolute hard reality, it's something that's appearing, and it's actually something that's subjective. So it's dependent on the subject. So we know this is a plant, for example, because it's not a human, it's not a flora, it's not a dog. So our language works, even though it doesn't seem like it, on the basis of comparison. I know I am human because I'm not a rabbit or a floor or a house. I know I'm me because I'm not you. And me has certain words associated with it. But that's actually a narrative that we're telling ourselves. It's not the actual experience. In the actual experience, there's never actually this you with all these labels looking out of your eyes. Like, so right now, in this moment, there isn't a mother looking through your eyes. There isn't a very good swimmer looking out of your eyes. There isn't a good person looking out of your eyes or a bad person looking out of your eyes. That's all a narrative that we tell in time, which is coming and going. If we took the idea of good and bad, we know that there isn't just good humans and bad humans. It's all subjective. It's constantly changing. Like, good in comparison to what? I'm a good swimmer in comparison to all other humans alive, or I'm a good swimmer in comparison to my swimming club, or I'm a good swimmer compared to my child. I'm a bad swimmer compared to my older siblings. Like, it's changing constantly what's good and what's bad. And so is you, because you're not always a mother. You're not always a daughter. You're not always a sibling. You're not always English, although some people might argue with that. I mean, that is so, this idea of races and nationalism, and that we have to live in these certain countries and we get passports for our certain countries. I understand we have to function like that currently, because if everybody emigrated to the richer countries, it would like overwhelm those richer countries. But it's an insanity in a way. People get very stuck on that. I am French, I am German, I am English, I'm Australian, I'm American, I'm Chinese. And it can be really subtle. Like, I know when I'm in mainland Europe, I fare well in a lot of the countries if I say I'm English. They don't necessarily like the English, but there's a certain respect that comes with English. Like, a lot of countries in Europe actually are like, oh, the English, but there's some sort of respect that comes from it, which is so crazy. Why, just because I'm born in a certain place, would I get more respect than other countries? Like, and it's really subtle. You can see it, like, subtly in your judgments. Like, you or some of you. I would assume most of you. I think it's pretty deep, these judgments, and pretty subtle. Yeah. So we have this assumption that that person is looking at the body, and even I support it. I say, I'm English. So it sounds like there is an I inside here. There's who and what is that I? Where is this solid I that everyone's convinced they have? There's an appearance of a character. So thoughts arise. Like I don't suddenly have memories of Einstein, although you never know, or Princess Leia, I was going to say, but she never existed, eh? Or Jesus Christ or something. Oh God, none of these are really working, are they? But I don't, so there's a particular character that comes with Lisa. Like Lisa, what we call Lisa, has particular memories that fit to this body and particular images and ideas. And most people believe that Lisa is the experiencer, that Lisa is registering experience and having an experience and walking through a separate world and having a separate life. So the body does seemingly register experience, although our memories are dodgy, but it does seem to have some sort of linear experience of Lisa's life. So there is this apparent linear, but it's the body that's registering it. So the mind, the memory, so this body has a memory which is holding up these images and playing these images when they're needed. But that's not actually an experiencer. That is an experience. That is an experience. It's not actually somebody looking out of these eyes. But most people in society believe that that person is watching through these eyes. And the reason that they believe that is because consciousness and the person become intertwined. Ooh, and this sense of I am. So in your life, you've always had this sense of looking, this sense of experiencing. In every experience, there's always been watching. So what I mean by watching is consciousness. There's always been a perception of things, like you've never not been conscious. Some people think that in deep sleep or in sleep that they're not conscious, but actually there's just not the appearance of anything. So there's nothing happening. So it's just time absent. But whenever, like everything that you know, whatever you remember, there's always been consciousness. You can't remember not being conscious. Like what would that even look like? Not being conscious. Well, when I was not conscious, there was just a blank room which I was sitting in. But there's still consciousness or perception of something, so that is still consciousness. Other people sometimes confuse it with self-consciousness, like not being self-aware. Like I'm not self-aware of myself. But that's not what's being talked about, it's perception. There's always perceiving happening. And that perception isn't a personal thing. It doesn't belong to the person, but what seemingly got muddled is that the person, the description of you, and that looking have become entwined. So what everybody believes is the person is conscious. But if you actually go into the experience really deeply, you realize that there is no person there. There is simply looking happening. So in this moment, there is only looking happening. Yeah, baby. Ja, Baby. Das ist schön. What people often muddle up is personal awareness and this big consciousness. So we also have this personal awareness, which you can move your lens. So you can move your attention into your big toe. So you do that now. Then you can move the attention into the heart, and then into the nose, and then into thinking. And you can also move the attention into attention. So you can move your personal consciousness into consciousness. But there's still something watching that. So that is a personal activity that's being witnessed. But when you do that, when you move attention into tension, you can't think about yourself. And there can sort of be a sense that in this moment, the person doesn't exist. So here, right now, the person is not existing. But yet, that consciousness and that sense of I am are existing. Isn't that fantastisch? Fantastic. Fantastic. Ja? So what always is the consciousness and the sense of being. So what is the sense of being? The sense of being is that sense of love, that sense of I am. This is I am. Yeah, baby, I am. This sense of being and this empty looking. And these two aren't really separate from each other, but they're always there in every experience. You comes and goes. There's an appearance of you. You could say in some ways, like right here, right now, there is never a you, but there's an appearance of you. Like the you, the illusory you is never going to disappear. There's always going to be an appearance of the illusory you. What happens is there is a separating from that. Like that consciousness and the you feel interlocked, whereas that's not true. So they separate and the consciousness goes back into itself, which it already is, but it seemingly feels locked inside itself. It's what's called love. It's beautiful. Yeah. It is beautiful. Es ist schön. I hope that's beautiful. Schön. I think so. Yeah. So this consciousness, what you truly are, so what's alive now, like the person isn't alive, that's your mistake. The person is like a film playing, but there's something that's watching it. Who is that? What is that? This sense of beingness. The beingness is the love. And that which is watching this isn't actually behind. That's how often a lot of teachers describe it. And it isn't actually a thing. So consciousness sounds like a thing. You could say in some way there is no consciousness. There is only everything, which is no thing. Because the consciousness, like where is this consciousness? So there is perception happening, but where is the center of perception? A lot of people think it's in here because it's identified with the person. So the center of my perception is inside my head, behind my eyes, where I'm thinking. But actually, where is it? Because where does your consciousness stop and I begin? Oh, such love. So where does your consciousness stop and the I, me, Lisa begin? So some people might say, well, my consciousness stops here. But how? So that means you only see, you only experience up to here. Like I am inside your consciousness, you could say. Or if you get even more intimate, it's I am your consciousness. I'm not outside your consciousness. If I was outside of your consciousness, I wouldn't exist. Because consciousness is consciousness. What is being perceived? So therefore, I cannot be outside of consciousness. So in your experience, your consciousness is all things that appear. Everything is consciousness. This beautiful plant, I think it should be called Herbie. Such a funny plant. It like curls up sometimes. If it doesn't like something, it curls up. And also sometimes it curls up at night. Herbie the plant. So everything you see is consciousness. So as you begin to see that you're not the person, you're not this separate person, and you are that which is experiencing, and that which is experiencing is all experiences, that is where non-duality lies, and that is where the consciousness of things exist. And that is total love and freedom. Yeah, baby, yeah. Yeah, baby, yeah. And that is non-duality. That is non-duality. And consciousness, who you truly are, is free of everything. It does not suffer. It's the person that suffers. And predominantly the person suffers when it seeks for consciousness in form. So when consciousness is identified with the person then seeks for that in form. And it can never find it. Because when you're in contact with who you are, it's deep rest. There is deep rest. But when there is a losing of that, then there's always this scurrying to try to find it. But this isn't known on the personal level. So the person is always in this state of trying to find, which it deep down feels like it's lost. It's trying to find rest. So most people believe rest is in the next thing, or in alcohol, or in having kids, or in having money, whatever they believe it is. So waking up is deep rest, like deeply resting in what you are. And then that will filter into the person. That will begin to change the person. Like, because when there is that movement, there is like this end of seeking on the human level. There's still seeking patterns that can arise in the personality because it's habit, but there's this deep rest in what you are. And it's not going to make your life perfect on the human level. That's karma. And with this recognition, there is a shift in karma. And I feel like your karma expands and expands and improves. And changes and lets go and releases. Okay. So does anyone have any questions? My Skype is Lisa Cairns 12, so you can write and you can ask questions as well. But if you want to call in, call me. And please make sure that you have a headset with a microphone and that you've prepared your question. So what I'm looking for in questions is either a question, and the question can have some of your experience in it, but trying to be concise. So even though I love you just coming and sharing your experience, if there's no question in it, then it's not so relevant. And just trying not to go on too much, being concise with the experience. And then also, although I love compliments and I love chatting sometimes, not all the time, but not calling for a chit chat, which sometimes happens. Yeah. So it works best if you're concise with the questions. And if it is about an experience, it is leading to asking a question about it. Okay, cool. So I've got lots of people that want to call in today. So Sophia is the first one that I see. Yeah, Sophia. So just accept you. I'm just giving you a second to hear that, because sometimes there's lots of people that aren't actually live with me. Yeah. So they're just a little bit behind. Like, so you think that you're live in the talk, but you're not actually live in the talk. You're a bit behind. You're in the playback. Okay, Sophie, let's go.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Sophie. Thanks for your call.
Okay, where are we?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Nice. So how can I help you today or not help you?
Yeah. So, okay. Just breathe into this moment.
Oh yeah, and so you can totally take your time. If you want to sit in silence for a moment, you're so welcome. Whatever fits for you.
So I think it's along the lines of choice and doership.
Mm.
Uh, I know it's a common thing that happens with apparent choices.
Yeah.
Um, there's been a lot of stuff happening over the past 18 months, and
Yeah.
currently there's something I'm experiencing. There's a situation where I've been booked in for a procedure,
Mm.
and there is another option. And this is funny because when I thought about calling and I thought about what I would say, I thought that, well, why don't I just do what I feel is best? But then the question comes in as to where is that coming from? Projection or intuition? Is it
Yeah.
choice? Um,
Mm.
it feels like a very grounded feeling, and this is a reoccurring experience of feeling into what is right for me.
Mm.
Um, Part of what came up in discussion earlier was I don't want to let myself down with this feeling being strong.
Mm.
Um, and opening it up really to look at it and to call it out, and whatever could be happening, to hear your thoughts on
Mm.
these scenarios that come up and how spiritual ego can get involved, and how,
Yeah.
yeah, while I'm not fully abiding in awareness, there is great awareness and glimpses and so on. It's
Mm.
still something that can feel challenging.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Especially when it's health related. Mm. But we can feel like that's a very personal thing that we have to choose.
Yes, and yeah, that, exactly. But it's
Mm.
that I've had the thought come up of there's so many different perspectives of, I've had the letter, do I surrender into going for this procedure and allow everything to unfold that way? Or is this feeling guiding me to a different
Mm.
choiceless
Yeah.
choice of, yeah.
Mm. So in the end, like whatever happens, if you follow your intuition, or you go with the procedure, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. If your ego gets involved, if a trauma gets involved, or if it doesn't, and it can never be any other way. So whatever is chosen there is the perfect outcome of events. Absolutely, even if it is riddled with ego or riddled with fear, it's perfect. It's God or the divine, whatever word suits, or the mystery creating. Just like an artist painting, it's absolutely perfect, and everything is in its perfect place. So that's like the main answer is that you can't get it wrong. You really can't. It really is the perfect karma for that body. And that's really brutal when you think about it. Like in the sense that that includes all badness and goodness. Our psychology is made up by this idea that it is our choice to keep us in line with goodness and to keep away from badness. So most of our stories are about goodness fighting evil. It's very rare that you find a story that isn't about goodness fighting evil. Maybe Winnie the Pooh and some kids' stories. Like Winnie the Pooh is just kind of like Winnie the Pooh's like mishap adventures. But a lot of stories are about good fighting evil. So say if you took Harry Potter, it's like goodness, which is Harry Potter fighting against badness, which is Voldemort. Lord of the Rings, I forget the names in Lord of the Rings, but it's the Hobbit and all his friends. What's his name? The Hobbit fighting against Mouths, or I've forgotten his name as well. But you're always like in this adventure of fighting against evil, and evil can be bad choices. So that's also, or darkness or badness can be bad choices. So this is what our psychology is fundamentally made up of, this idea that there is a you inside of the body that has to make good choices as opposed to bad choices. And that, yeah, that's like our biggest dilemma as humans, I think. Because the way that our mind also works is by contemplating choices, our bodies take in new information and evolve in different ways, but they only evolve in the way they could evolve. So it's like an algorithm. So we've now programmed these algorithms to write stories. So we uploaded the algorithms with all stories, or with thousands and thousands of stories, and then it learns from all the stories that that's uploaded into it how to write a story. So we know that that algorithm isn't choosing to write a story, but all the information that's been put into it has affected the way in which it writes a story. But it couldn't have been any other way. It couldn't have had any other stories uploaded to it. Because when you really look at everything, you realize that nothing is acting independently. There wasn't somebody that acted independently uploading those stories. It's a series of events which go on forever. You can never start the beginning of events. It's kind of like love. So every choice that you make is love, good or bad. And most of us will make, even though there isn't really good and bad, if we put it into statistics, we'll make maybe like 60 or 70% good choices for ourselves, and then 30 or 40% maybe of bad choices for ourselves. It's kind of so dependent. You know, you might choose to move to America and like marry the man of your dreams or something, and then you move over there, and because you're not used to driving on that side of the road, you die, you know, after a year of living there. And then as society would say that's a bad choice that they made. But it's really not. It's what happened. And the freedom comes from every moment recognizing the love that is in this moment. Every moment. It's not really a personal recognition, but it's this knowing of this love that is always here in everything that happens, the perfection of it. The perfection of sadness, the perfection of indecision, everything that arises on the human level. So that's the non-dual answer, I would say. Yeah. And then if you went more to law of attraction, I think they all fit together. But if I just separate it out a bit, because it's so hard to explain how they fit together. But if you went to more of a law of attraction, it's like ideally you want to make choices that come from flow, from positivity. But that's again not your doing, that's something that happens or doesn't. So that's the indicator, but it's okay not to. I make choices out of fear. And also in a way we have to make choices out of a fear. You know, if we see a big lion walking down the road, then it's so appropriate to move away out of fear. Not to sit there and be like, hang on, I have to get myself into love and then the lion will lick me in the face rather than bite my head off. Like but ideally it's like moving that energy into that love vibration. That's sorely misunderstood though, and it's not personal. It's something that happens or doesn't, but it's very misunderstood because a lot of people think that love is pleasure. So there is a big mistake from that. Like that love is like this high pleasure of like getting something which makes you evolve as a human, whereas actually love is this sense of deep rest and stillness it's underneath all the human emotions, and it's like the first thing that's manifesting from that, and it's this sense of all possibilities. And then we can go even deeper into that on the human level and see, like I won't do it with you now because it's a bit too personal to do online when other people are watching, but you could when you're by yourself go into any doubt that comes up and speak it out to yourself, you know, what your doubts are or what your fears are, and let them be spoken out, let them be seen for what they are. You know, where you feel that vibration of doubt in your body or like unsureness, and just letting that express itself. And then moving it to the opposite, and then moving it back to the doubts, and moving it to positivity, like playing with it. How does that feel? Like what's being said?
Yeah, I understand it all, and yes, it's interesting because it's connected with the throat, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been playing around with voicing it, and interestingly, a couple of Gangaji videos came up that I watched recently, and when I was watching those, I felt clear that it was okay to go with the procedure, and then when I stopped watching them, there was a lack of clarity again, and there was feeling like to not have this procedure, and then talking about it with my partner, it felt like I was even clearer to not have it. So there's just there's this ebb and flow of something happening in this experience, and it's lovely to hear your words and to connect.
Is indecision something that you normally have difficulty with, or is it something that's just arising with this?
I think it's something that's played out quite a lot when I was immersed in lots of spirituality and law of attraction, and then things changed quite a lot in a very short space of time, and then this has all been unfolding since then.
Yeah, the other bit of advice is that I would pay attention to the solar plexus and look up the solar plexus, and just, if you can, do some meditations on that. So choice to me is an energy that comes from the solar plexus. So it's something that, and it has got to do with the throat, because so the solar plexus is like the place of choosing, and then the throat is about being able to express what you want, being able to express your needs, and being able to express it to other people so they hear it and they see it and they understand you. So it's like our chakras go up in this dance, like you have this choice making, and then it goes up, out as expression. So it's just something you can explore. Is you could do some meditations and see how that affects, like after you've done the meditation. Osho has good like chakra meditations. But you can also look some up online. And I particularly concentrate on the solar plexus, and maybe the throat as well.
It's so interesting because the solar plexus is involved in this procedure as well, in a way. Yeah, because it's about a hiatus hernia, the possibility of one, which is the stomach coming up through the diaphragm. So.
Yeah, funny. There's most really something being released, because I do feel like as we release things, it is connected to our physiology. I can't speak that word now. So it is connected to our body. So when we change, our body changes as well. Like, so when I was with Roger, he was one of my teachers, like first introduced me to this, and he taught me to massage my body to help release stories. So I would massage different parts of my bodies and different stories would come out. And I feel like the way I conceptualize it is that we've got the main chakras in our body, in our torso. So they go in a line down, and then from those chakras we have all our meridians going off it, which go into the rest of our body. So when you massage, say, around the knee on the top right hand, oh well, it depends how you look at it, but the top right hand side, it might be related to the stomach, and then the stomach is related to a particular chakra and particular emotion. So it's all connected. So your body begins to shift as the human evolves and expands. And illnesses can come up to clear it. Like I went through a stage, I think I've spoken about this, with a lot of neck ache. It was about 2 years I went through this neck ache problem, and I feel like it was connected to me speaking my truth and speaking out what I felt.
Thank you.
No, it was a pleasure. Yeah. And I wish you well with your procedure or not your procedure, whichever one it is chosen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Nice. I think there is, on my website, I do have some links on the reference page to alternative doctors, I think.
Okay.
So you can also look through that. I'm not sure if I have put it on there. I sometimes forget to update it. So you can just have a brief look. There was one that I was recommended recently, and I think I haven't put him on there. So I'll try and update it in the next couple of days, and you can find it.
Okay.
Or you can write to me after the stream, and then I'll send you a link to him. But make sure you do it after the stream, because otherwise I won't see your message. It'll get lost in the chat.
Fab.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie. Thank you for calling in and asking.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Es tut mir leid, ich habe das Toilette gehen. I am back. Hello. Okay. Let's see the next question. So if you would like to call in, please put call me. I did see another call me. Yes, Johan. I'll just give them a moment to see my message. Yes, hello, okay. Johan. I think it's Johan.
Hello.
Hey, did I say your name Johan?
Yes, it's Johan. We actually talked in March this year. I had a session
Oh, we did?
with you.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So I have a question about law of attraction.
Yeah.
So a short backstory. When we talked, I was kind of not in a good shape because I got the empty looking, but it felt very empty and like meaningless.
Yeah.
And we talked about love and the other part of it.
Yeah.
And this actually happened end of June. So yeah, I'm feel very blessed for what has happened. So yeah,
Nice.
So I'm in a really good spot in one way.
Yeah, great.
But my weird problem right now is that it seems like I'm attracting an infinite amount of problems, and it's all work related, and it's again and again the same story.
Yeah.
It's someone who promised to do something, I trust them, and then eventually they don't do it, or they do a really bad job, so I have to do it myself.
Yeah.
So this project has been like ongoing for 2.5 months, and I have never ever felt so much pressure and felt so lonely in a situation before in my life.
Wow,
so there's two sides of this, because what has happened here is that nothing sticks anymore. So I can feel very, very strong anxiety. I can sit in front of my computer and scream out in the room of frustration and like strong emotional bodily feelings and all that. But it never sticks. It's like I'm super grateful for that, because I mean, in one way, it's not that I don't care. It's just, yeah, it doesn't feel. I had an expression on my mind. It's not. Yeah, it's like it doesn't. I don't mind. I don't have an opinion about what is happening in one way. So it's not like this is not consuming me. I'm not dying and so on. But the level of pressure is immense, and it just continues, and it feels like running a marathon thing, and every time I think I'm at the end, it just continues. So I wonder what your thoughts are about.
So often when awakening happens, like that's what I will say, I don't know if that's what's happened for you, but that's seemingly what you're reporting. So when awakening happens, like I just say I don't know, because I don't know, I'm not inside your body, I don't know what that experience is.
Yeah.
So is my experience is then the body goes through a process of lining up with that more and more. So the awakening is this movement back into deep rest. So your essence and the love is deep, deep rest. So that which is looking and that which is experiencing is deep rest. And then I feel like you drop out more of the mind and you drop more into the body when that happens. Well, that's what happened to me. And that's what I hear happen to a lot of people. And so your emotions and your feelings are more energetical than they are mental. Even though they're still mental, so there's still an element of words in them, you feel it very much in your body. So if I feel fear, I very much feel it in my sacral chakra and in my belly. And if I feel love, I feel it in my heart. Like I very much feel it physically rather than mentally. So sometimes when I speak to people, they express that they feel things in their head or they don't know where they feel things. Whereas me, it feels like it's in the body. If I get really deep into meditation, like it's so obvious that they're everywhere and nowhere. And even in this moment, it's kind of obvious they're everywhere and nowhere. But I can kind of say they seem to be related to areas in the body.
Yeah.
So, and what happens after that awakening is you go through years of, and it may be a lifetime, like it could be lifetimes actually, of processing thoughts and stories which are genetically and socially conditioned into that body, and kind of like balancing them out so they don't have like strong sways anymore, so they become less intense. And the way I feel like it balances it out is it's no longer an intellectual learning about them, although there can be an intellectual learning about them. You learn about them through experience, and that's like true learning. Like so for example, say if somebody has to learn about victimization and being conned financially, this is just an example. Like, so say if they've got a bit of a victimized story, or they've got fear of being conned, or they've got fear of trusting other people, like they have to actually learn that in their life. So often that will transpire as being conned, or maybe they are the conner. They don't know it, but they become the person that cons. And they act out, and it's through acting out you really learn it. You really see it for what it is. Because it's easy to watch a YouTube video about fear or about going through the Holocaust or dying on your deathbed. But until you really experience it, you really don't understand what it's like. So what I would suggest is happening to you is there is stories around over-functioning independence, more than likely.
How do you mean?
In the sense that, like being a soul island. So you being this soul island that can function all by itself. I'm not saying it does do that, like now, but it has this feeling that it is totally capable of looking after itself by itself. And that's actually not true. We are communal animals that function by interaction with other humans. I'm not saying that you are doing this, but it's an internal feeling. So it's this. So, and the reason I say that is because you describe that people come and they're doing not good enough jobs. Like they come and work for you and they're not doing something that's good enough. So what it does is it highlights that feeling of like super independence. And it actually highlights loneliness, because if you're a soul island, like working on a project, it's like absolutely lonely. And it's actually a habit that you'll have inherited genetically maybe, but also grown up with, this feeling that you can do everything by yourself, which can be really empowering, but it's also super, super lonely. And it also comes normally with a feeling of superiority, that you can do everything better than everybody else. So it comes with that enmeshed in it as well. And so most probably, like, you're having that feeling brought up. So it's not about them doing a good job or not doing a good job. It's about your super independence and your separation in some part of you from other people. Like separation, I don't mean spiritually, I mean separation psychologically. I am totally independent and totally self-functioning and totally capable. How that might manifest in the past is problems with allowing other people to do things, like trusting other people's work, trusting, like you could, maybe if you take it out of the work arena, like, and you put it into partnership, like trusting the other person's choices, maybe like over controlling things. This could be a variety of things. And so it's to do with the solar plexus again. and the heart, like absolute loneliness. And it most probably comes from, at some part in your family line, it might not be in this life, it might be previous generations, is feeling abandoned by the parents. I know that sounds really weird, like I'm laughing because it's a really weird connection, but it's feeling abandoned by the parents, and then thinking it's not a conscious thing, but it's like a feeling like, screw you parents, I can do everything by myself, I don't need you to help me at all. And it's actually incredibly lonely. Like, I don't need you to help me because, like, so to deal with the rejection of the abandonment of the parents, it's like, I don't need you anyway, I can do everything by myself. So you might not even say anyway, it's just like they abandon you, there is this feeling of abandonment, and to cope with the feeling of abandonment, it's like, my parents are stupid, I can do everything better than them anyway, I don't need them. Just like a disdain. But it might not be from your generation. There's something that's in the body that will manifest. And I think it's like, in most probably like toxic masculinity. Like it's like a component, just like in toxic femininity, there's components which have like similarity. Like
I didn't get that last thing. What do you mean, toxic masculinity?
I mean like collective, like the negative collective masculinity. Like there's a negative collective femininity. Hang on, I can't remember how you say that word. But there's a negative. So something like toxic masculinity is like patriarchy, like the belief that male is superior to female. But I'm not saying that you have patriarchy, but I'm just saying it's like an element. This like uber independence is an element of toxic masculinity. It's like a cutting off from one's feelings and cutting off from one's society slightly, and believing that you're totally capable by yourself, and believing also that you are superior to others in some way. That might not be conscious. And I think that comes in masculinity to an extent. Like that's the way that men are conditioned as well. Like it's not personal to you. That's why I say it could also be generational.
Yeah. Well, lots of things there. I mean, I have so I don't know how to say this because it's kind of fitting exactly into what you're saying, but I don't know how I should. So I had a realization like, what is it, a year ago? I don't remember, but that was that my brain works in a quite different way than most people. And that was a huge relief because before that, I always wondered why people didn't see what was obvious to me. And this was not judgmental. I was just totally clueless about how to communicate and so on.
Yeah, but
and when that fell into place, I felt so much more relaxed in relations with others. Because I now I mean, I can't ask everyone to understand exactly like the most abstract and complex problems or solutions or whatever. So everybody is doing their absolutely best for sure.
So that thought, like most probably, like even though you weren't conscious of it before, that thought is like part of that makeup of that body, and it's also part of the creation of having a different thinking mind. And I know what you mean, like you could have high open-mindedness, and if you've got high open-mindedness, then you will, when you really understand what high open-mindedness is, you can see a big difference to the average or high intelligence. So I understand, like when you've got high IQ, it's a relief when you really realize that and understand that for example, and then you put it into place, like this is part of the reason why I can see all these details. Like, so there's all these, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that thought, that initial thought, I have different thinking from everyone else, was already in your body, and it is also what is creating the difference in thinking. Your body already knew that. Your system and your personality structure was based on that. And it's not a negative thing, because it actually gives loads of great gifts, and it's like it's law of attraction. If you believe you're the king, you'll have the king experience. If you believe that you have high open-mindedness or high creativity, then you will have that experience. But it's not a conscious thing. It's not something you wake up and say, I'm going to believe this. It's something deeply encoded in your body and in your system, and it's genetic encoding and social encoding.
What strikes me now when you talk about these things is that maybe it's actually the same old habit, not understanding what, like other people's, where it sounds, I don't want to sound, it sounds a bit like I think I'm above other things, but it's not a value thing at all. But to ask someone to do something that they're not capable of doing is not a kind thing to do. And I realize now that maybe this is just the pressure of the whole thing has gradually pushed me into giving people tasks that have essentially been impossible to solve for them.
Yeah.
So I start feeling maybe it's not like I've attracted problems. I've created them by not being in the more balanced normal state.
And they also say that, so if you've got like high open-mindedness or high creativity, then what you often do is you project that other people have that when they don't. So like, for an example, if you become an expert at something, you think that other people are experts at it too.
Yeah.
Like it's
no, but that's sorry, but that is really clear now. Actually, that there's a number of people that I've been thinking about, and I really love them and respect them in all ways, but they have not been able to do things that I was hoping that they would be. But it is me not actually just realizing
they're not capable.
where they come from.
Yeah. I would say that that's part of it, but I would also explore the other part of it, of this abandonment from parents. The reason that I would explore that is because I agree with you with the high creativity, that most probably plays a huge part of it. But I would say that deep in your coding, you had this as thought prior to coming into this life, maybe, or that body did. And I just suspect that your parents, you will have viewed this on your parents. There will have been a point where you saw your parents as insufficient and incapable of looking after you. And so then you will have become this very own singular island, and that's where the loneliness comes from. So sometimes if you have really high IQ and your parents don't, then it actually can be a massive injury when you realize that your parents don't. Or when you go to the education system and they aren't able to stimulate you. It actually really, really injures a lot of high IQ people. But anyway, it's just something to play with. I just suspect that that's where the loneliness comes from, is this becoming your own island. And there might be superiority in there as well, because that will have been part of the defense to it. But I'm not saying that there's not like this other side that has high creativity. That might be really true, or high open-mindedness or high IQ. And then also you're correct in saying, like, giving people like really realistically seeing where people are at, rather than projecting your skill level onto other people. Which is also disappointing for you, because it means you can't create so highly, because you know.
Yeah, but it's really, I mean, it hasn't, it's just these last 2.5 months where I'm like more and more have screamed more loudly about I need help from all the people that could be able to help me with this project, and nothing has happened. And so it's before that it has, but it is still, I realize it's still I have to revisit that part where I don't see people. So it is when I realized it was a huge difference. So, but I can feel now when we talk about it that is still there in some part. So I have to kind of. It's like when you're relaxed and everything is kind of moving. Like this summer was totally amazing with all the things to look at and all the love. So
nice.
But it's still there, so it's not lost. It's just lots of noise inside myself. But thank you.
Yeah, good luck with your projects. I hope you find extra help, or I hope that life does exactly what it's going to do.
Yeah, I suppose it will. I don't have any other expectations. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, nice. If anyone else wants to call in, just say, call me. Danke. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Nick. Hey, Catherine. Hi, Lisa. Could you speak to the current polarity in society, the C thing? Populism. I don't know what populism is. V, the big V, that gives you a prick. Yes or no? It is something that makes me deeply fearful, and I wonder how to approach this from a non-dual mind. Thank you, Catherine. Thanks, Catherine. I have to just use code words. I'm sure I'll forget and just say them, because YouTube have algorithms that go through videos afterwards, and they're looking for flag words, and those words are big flag words, and I don't want to get flagged. Ooh. Okay. I don't know what you mean by popularism. Should I just quickly Google it? Google popularism. Populism refers to a range of political stances that emphasize the idea of the people, and often juxtaposes this group against the elite or the establishment. Populism. Okay. I see. This is what Ramesh Balsakar used to say. I see. And he would be on his rocking chair. I used to go and visit Ramesh when he was alive in Mumbai. I see. Yeah, baby, yeah, you see. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The whole thing. People versus the elite. It's like this age-old dilemma since we became civilized and started keeping animals and living in one place, is how to organize ourselves. How do we organize ourselves? And there's always this fight between the left and the right, the communism, the center, or the right. And there's this spectrum, and then people sit on the spectrum and everyone thinks their side is the best side. It'd be so amazing if we had something outside of that spectrum. I feel like the only way to change society is through love. And that is the integration, so the recognition of non-duality and then the integration into that personal life. And so it has to come from an internal feeling that we will feel. Like, yeah, everyone just really feels that love and that deep rest. I don't know how quickly that can evolve, though. Yeah. I don't think there is any right or wrong. Like, I'm not left or right. I would have before maybe named myself as more like central left central, like not communist, but not right either. Oh, now I don't know. The more and more I learn about politics and here, I'm like, oh, far out. It's so complex. I really don't know what is the best. Yeah. How do we organize ourselves? I think the most important part is just to love thy freaking neighbor. And if you're doing that, then that's absolute political activism. That's like the best political activism you can have. It's better than anything, just to love your neighbor. I really love them. Not love them as in like because they bring you pleasure, but love them for no reason. Love them for nothing, just as they are completely. And to do that is the recognition that who they are is the consciousness, is the same looking as what's looking out of your eyes. Really love them. And just see in yourself your harsh judgments. Like I suppose I'm in the realm of being hardly judged because I've not had the prick of the big V. And that's quite acceptable in spiritual circles, but it's really not acceptable in society. And I feel people's hard judgments. Yeah. And it's just like you never know. Like you never know. Like the reason that someone gets the big V or the reason that someone doesn't get the big V is totally personal in a way, down to that particular body-mind mechanism. And it is their perfect dance, whatever they do. It's so perfect. I'm not a fan of pharmaceutical companies, primarily because of what they do to animals. But that doesn't mean anything. That's just what comes out of this body-mind. If it feels right for you, that is your perfect dance. And even if it doesn't feel right and you still do it, that is your perfect dance. Absolutely beautiful and divine. It's love expressing itself. So whichever side you are, you don't know. Like my experiences is that I grew up in a family with two people that were very ill. So in my childhood, I spent a lot of time visiting people in hospital. And I saw a lot of medical malpractice, a lot of, cruelty. I know they were trying to help in the end. But I'll give an example of one. Was my gran had a hole in her leg. She had a knee replacement, it went wrong, so she had a hole in her leg. And what that means is it's an open wound. And it never would heal, so she had to have a bag attached to it for all the pus and ooze to come out. It was really gross. She lived with me when I was growing up. And the hospital used to take in my gran to give my mum respite. She was disabled. So she would go into hospital for like a week or 2 weeks to give my mum what they called respite. And this one time that she went in to have respite, the nurse was a young nurse and she decided to unwrap my gran's wound and allow it to dry out. She had this idea that it would dry out if she unwrapped it. And if you're a maybe more experienced nurse, you'll know that's the worst thing that you can do to an open wound, because an open wound is like a beacon for infection. And in that hospital, they were rife with MRSA. And MRSA, you can look it up. I think that's how you call it. It's basically, it's what I describe it as is like an internal gangrene. So it kind of like rots your body from the inside. That's maybe like a real bad way of describing it. But so my gran got MRSA, and then over the next 6 months she died from it, and it was a horrific death. And the hospital refused to take any responsibility for it. Eventually they did, so they refused to put it on her death certificate that it was FMRSA, even though it was obvious. They said it was like heart giving up or old age, I can't remember what it was. Because otherwise they could have been, yeah, that's what they did. And yeah, and then what was, yeah. And then eventually my mum got an apology letter from the hospital for that. And I know that everybody's intention is good in that. Like, that nurse had good intentions. She didn't mean to do that. And it's also perfect. Like, that couldn't have been any other way. But it's experiences, and that is the tip of the iceberg. Like, it's experiences like that. Like, so because we had so much illness in my family, like going in and out of hospital, and there's many, many, many more like that, and worse ones than that I witnessed. I also witnessed loads of kindness and compassion and beauty and trying their best. But from these experiences, it put me really off allopathic medicine. Yeah, and as I got older and I got more into holistic medicines, I just really began to appreciate holistic medicine and looking at the body as a whole, and including the mind and the way you think, the way you hold your body, like your attitude, also the whole of your body, so not just treating the symptom. Yeah, and so that sent me, like, those childhood experiences of spending a lot of my childhood in hospitals, watching people be ill. Then as I got older and got more into spirituality and then holistic medicine, like just really appreciating that perspective rather than like putting plasters on things. And that's one of my reasons that when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I stopped taking the big V's and decided to do other ways of treating my body in order to make it prepared for diseases or viruses. And that doesn't mean that anyone that takes it is wrong. That's their story. So that's part of my story, but that's not the whole reason. The other reason is because my gut tells me to do that. And like, it feels right. So I've got this story about allopathic medicine, but then also I've got the gut that just feels right in that choice. And that's what's right for me. It doesn't mean that I've got an intention to spread the virus or that I'm not compassionate to other people. Like, totally the opposite. Like, I feel so compassionate for other people. And I don't connect that in my brain with me not having the big V and then spreading it to other people at all. I just don't think it works like that. They have a different way of seeing viruses and illnesses. Yeah. Yeah, like, I've been told that like I could kill my mother and all these types of things. But that's perfect, and that's perfect for me to experience that, and maybe I change my mind at some point and do it. Like, I'm also open to that as well. And my life experience is part of the decision, and then the other part is this gut feeling as well. And that's the beauty. Each unique individual has that, whether it be pro it or not pro it. And that's so beautiful. And that's part of really loving. Like, that's an effect of really knowing who you are on a deeper level. I'm not saying that I don't act old karmas and old traumas, like that happens, but it's also part of this. When you really know who you are, then these things flow through you as beauty. And if it means that I am to get the big C and to perish from that, that's so perfect. It's not that's what I want, but that's so perfect. That is the way of it. I don't feel that happens. I feel like I won't get it and I won't spread it. That feels very strong here. Yes, but who knows? And that gives room to, like, it's not like I have these ideas and these beliefs and I think they are right and I must push that onto everyone else. I see that everyone has their divine, unique beauty that needs to be expressed. And so when one friend who's older and has heart problems says they're going to get the vaccination, not heart problems, they had blood pressure problems, and they feel they're going to get it and they've had great experience with vaccines before, I feel like, yeah, that's right for you. Yeah, baby, yeah. It's not always so comfortable then having them come back and be like, because you don't do it, but yeah. So that's my experience. Like, if you really want to do the most radical political activism there is, to really change society, love your neighbor. Like one of the 10 commandments, love thy neighbor like yourself, as if they are you, as if they are yourself. Yes, baby. Oh God, I wonder what the comments in YouTube are now. There is no C. It's all conspiracy. There is C. That's conspiracy. 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 Anti-vaxxers conspiracy. This conspiracy. Bad, bad, bad. Yes, love, love, love. And all of that is divine. And that is their perfect dance. Thank you. I guess the fear comes from growing pressure to get the big V and being excluded from society if I don't. I really don't like being forced to do anything against my will. And the choice seems between being part of social life and go against my intuition or violate my intuition in order to be. It's all perfect. Yeah, I might go against it as well because of travel. Like, I live in a different country from my mother. She's not in the EU anymore because of Brexit. Although I shouldn't really say Brexit because that's another flag word. Brexit. Who voted for Brexit? Anybody on the talk? Out. Out. I'm joking. My parents both voted for Brexit. Yeah. I really don't like being forced into doing anything against my will, and the choice seems between being part of social life and going against it. Yeah, it's perfect. It's okay also to go against your intuition and to do that. That's also okay. That happens so often to all of us, all the time. My intuition is to not eat the naughty foods or something, and then naughty foods get eaten. Not eat the cheese, and then the cheese gets eaten. We don't have to be perfectionists about it. And then you can look at the injury, if there is an injury, about being told to do things that you don't want to do. You can look at that feeling and feel that in the body. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Lisa. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Vedios. I often listen to you on Sundays. Very often it is as if the first time experience, no matter how many times I've listened to you online. Overwhelming space, silence, love and acceptance. Thank you. An online session is scheduled with you on the 20th of November. I will be sitting at the airport at the gate. The start is 2 hours before departure on my way from Lamina. I will be okay. It will be okay. We can change that, Vedios. Write to me after the session and after the Skype session and I can change that. It's maybe not so good, like doing it in the airport. Hey, Eric. Hi, Lisa. Would meditation help me to abide in being? That's all conceptual. meditation happens or it doesn't, and then there's a concept of you that's abiding in being. Who is this you that would abide in beingness? Who? There can be the appearance of somebody abiding in beingness, or abiding in what they think is beingness, but it's all conceptual. In actuality, it happens or not. I would say on the human level, it's more than likely very happy, very healthy. But who's this person that's going to abide in beingness? It's an impossibility, really, because the person is never present, really. And beingness is only ever present. The person is always in time, a movement in time, a movement of something that's not here. Yeah, baby. Thanks, Eric. Devish. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. In Hinduism, they say it's not advisory to wear metal rings on thumbs. You become open to certain energies you can't handle. I am ignorant like a potato, but many clever people, yogis, who have advised this. Sorry for off topic, just felt to express it. Oh, thanks, Devish. Yeah, this one I can't get off anymore. But maybe that's the source of all my problems. Thank God, Devish. Thank you. Nice. Okay, we naturally come to the end of questions. Okay, my lovely people. Hello, beautiful people. Yeah, that is the end of the talk today. Okay, that is the end. I do have some announcement. I am doing a free talk to try out doing talks on Zoom on Saturday the 30th of October, so you can join for that on my website. Remember to like the video, because that's how YouTube works, is that it promotes the videos that have likes, that have views, all these different things. So if you like the video, like it. People always forget to like the videos. So I feel like it's time I have to start reminding people. And also there is another channel that isn't run by me, is run by another guy called Osborne. And it's called Lisa Cairns video clips, maybe Osborne's channel, I'm not sure, something like this. You can find it linked to my channel, and it's edited clips of my talks. Yeah, so it's a really nice channel, and he labels it all nicely and puts it in playlists. And he also has some other channels that you can find on his channel. Yeah. Dislike works too. Controversy equals views. Yeah, trust me, I get many dislikes as well. Sometimes, like as soon as I go live, I get the dislikes. I can see it, it shows it on your dashboard, which is okay as well. Yeah. Okay, beautiful people. Das ist genug. And I said it wrong yesterday about going to the toilet. It's not I have to go to the toilet. It's ich muss for the German people. I know that I did that wrong. Ich muss. Yeah, you don't say. I think that might mean I have the toilet like I have a steak. I have the toilet that I must go to. Something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, Halloween is on the 30th, right? Okay, yeah, we can all dress up. Boop, beep. The great thing about doing it in Zoom is I can play music. If you followed my streams from way, way back in the beginning, before copyright really started, I used to always play music instead of meditate. And I loved that, but then all the copyright banning came in. But in Zoom, if I do them in Zoom, I can play it because it's not going onto YouTube, I think. And I can share it with you all through. the true Zoom. Yes, okay. Yeah, so good night. I wish you everything. Not just one thing or two things, but every goddamn thing. Every goddamn thing. Yeah. Goodbye.